Hello everyone, welcome to Vishesh Educational Videos. In this video, I am explaining the process of file and record locking that is supported in Unix system programming. So if you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. To get the notification of my new videos, please click the bell icon. So please don't forget to like the video and please don't forget to share the video with your friends. So let me begin the explanation of file and record locking process that is supported in Unix system programming. So first of all, why you need to lock your file? Why you need to lock your record? So first you need to understand that, then I will explain what are the mechanisms that are supported to do a locking of a file. So why means multiple process performs read and write operations on the same file concurrently. In simple words, if the same file is shared between two or more processes, right? So sometimes what happens, so some process may read the incorrect data. That is possible. That's why, right? So for example, see this process I am going to explain in detail. So here consider the two processes A and B. You can see there both the processes A and B, both the processes A and B sharing the same file. So you can see there the file contains two values. Initial values of the particular variable is P is equal to 20, Q is equal to 30. So here you can see there in this scenario both the process A and B are using the same file and the values of that file is P is equal to 20, Q is equal to 30. Now if process B is reading the P value, you can see there process B is reading the value from the file, process A is writing the value to the file. Now what happens means process B is trying to reading the value of the P. So now what is the value of the P? 20. Process B is reading the value of the P, that is 20, but at the same time A is also, right, A is also trying to change the value of the process. A is also trying to change the value of the P to 40. Understanding guys? Same file is shared between A and B. B is trying to read the value of the P. In the same time, A is also trying to change the value of the P. It is trying to change the value of the P from 20 to 40. Right? So B here, what is the problem here? Process B read 20 instead of 40. First process B read the value of P, that is 20. After B is reading simultaneously, A is also trying to change the value of P to 40. So B read the value 20, but after that A changed the value of P to 40. So instead of, now what is the actual value of the P here? 40. But what is the value that B read here? 20. So this is the problem when two or more processes share the same file. Incorrect values can be read. So to avoid this, I need to lock my file. So in order to overcome this drawback, right, Unix and POSIX standards support file locking mechanism. And remember, file locking is applicable for regular files. Regular files means text files or a binary files. So file locking applies for regular files. See, so now we will move on to the actual locking process. So only a process can impose a write lock or read lock on either a portion of a file or on the entire file. So here, if you want to impose a particular portion of the file, it is also possible. If a process wants to impose the lock for the entire record also, it is possible. That is the first thing you should know. And the next thing, the differences between the read lock and the write lock is that when the write lock is set, it prevents the other process from setting any overlapping read or write lock on the locked file. So remember this, when one process is going to set, right, write lock, when one process is going to set the write lock, no other process can set any locks. Read also not possible, write also not possible. If it is a write lock, if a process is setting the write lock, no other process can set any of the locks. Either if it is a read also, either if it is a write also, no lock can be set. But when a process is set a read lock, when a process set a read lock, it prevents other process from setting any overlapping write locks on the locked region. But they can do the reading process. Sorry. Similarly, when a read lock is set, it prevents other process from setting any overlapping write locks on the locked region. Getting, guys? Understood? If it's a write lock, any overlapping read or write lock is not possible. If it is a read lock, overlapping write is not possible. Getting? Hope you are understanding. If you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section. Next, why we need a write lock? What is the intention of the write lock? The intention of the write lock is to prevent other process from both reading and writing the locked region. Other process can't write also, other process can't read also if it is a write lock. Right? While the process that sets the lock is modifying the region. So write lock is termed as exclusive lock. Exclusive means it is exclusively only for that process. That lock is, that means it is only for that process. Only that process can read it, only that process can write it, only that process can modify the particular file. No other process can read, no other process can write. That is why it is exclusive lock. Next, the use of read lock is to prevent, why we use read lock? The use of read lock is to prevent other process from writing to the locked region, while the process that sets the lock is reading the data from the region. If a process sets a read lock, if it is reading the data from that particular file, no other process can write into the file. Getting, guys? No other process can write because some process is reading. No other process can write, but no other process can read. That is not a problem. Data is not going to change, right? But it's just a read lock, right? The other process can read, but no other process can write when some process is reading the contents of the file. Getting? So other processors are allowed to lock and read the data from the locked regions. Hence a read lock is shared lock. I told you, writing is not possible. Other process can read from that file. That's why it's called as a shared lock. Exclusive lock means the reading is also not possible, writing is not possible. But shared lock means reading from other process is possible, but writing from other process is not possible. That's why it's a shared lock. Hope you are understanding, guys. And file lock may be mandatory. File locks can be two types, mandatory or advisory. File locks can be mandatory if they are enforced by an operating system kernel. If the lock is set by operating system kernel, then I can call that lock as a mandatory. Okay, guys, right? If a mandatory exclusive lock is set on a file, no process can use the read or write system call to access the data on the locked region. Obviously, if mandatory exclusive lock is set, no process can read or write, right, on the locked region, right? And these mechanisms can be used to synchronize reading and writing of shared files by multiple processes. Multiple processes can use this locked mechanism. When you use this locked mechanism, no process can interfere with each other. They can read and write the data in a synchronized manner, one after the other, without any problems. That's why this is important. Next, if a process locks up a file, other processes that attempt to write to the locked regions are blocked until the former process releases its lock. So if a lock is acquired by one process, no other processes are allowed to lock that region. No, this process should wait until the other process finish the reading or writing process. Once the lock is held, it is there with that particular process until it's finished. After that only I can give the lock to the another process. Getting, guys? Next, problem with mandatory lock. So what is the problem with mandatory lock? If a runaway process sets a mandatory exclusive lock on a file and never unlocks it, then no other process can access the locked region of the file until the runaway process is killed or the system has to be rebooted. Suppose if any one process sets a mandatory exclusive lock and is not going to finish its task of reading or writing for the infinite amount of time, obviously other process will remain waiting only. They won't get the chance. That is the problem in mandatory lock. If it is everything is fine, no problem. If something happens, if the process is unable to release the lock, means other process will suffer. They will wait for infinite amount of time. Then what you have to do, you have to either kill that process or you have to reboot your system. That's the problem with the mandatory lock, right? So if the locks are not mandatory, then it has to be advisory lock. Alright guys, a kernel at the system call level does not enforce advisory lock. Remember, a kernel or an operating system always enforces mandatory locks. Advisory locks are not at all, right, enforced by kernel, right? This means that even though a lock may be set on a file, no other process can still use the read and write functions to access the file. What is the meaning of this? This means that even though lock may be set on a file, yes, advisory lock is not set by kernel. Yes, we know that, but that doesn't mean that you can write or read if a still lock is on. No, you can't do that. If a lock is on, just you can't do anything. You can't write it. If it's a shared lock, you can read it, but if it is a write lock, you can't read it or write it. Right guys? And to make use of advisory locks, processes that manipulate the same file must cooperate such that they follow the given below procedure for every read and write operation to the file. Obviously, advisory locks means we need some cooperation from the every process. Suppose if one process is set lock, another process should wait until the lock is released. Mutual understanding should be there between the processes. So if you are implementing the advisory locks, remember that mutual understanding between the processes is very, very important. If I say you have to wait, that process should wait. They have to follow some proper procedure. Even if I say wait, if they don't ready to wait, then this process can't be a success. We need to follow some proper steps, procedure. What is that? If you are using the advisory locks, try to set a lock at the region to be accessed. If this fails, a process can either wait for the lock request to become successful. So you have to try to set a lock at the region to be accessed. If you want to access it, instead of locking the entire file, you have to set the lock for the particular portion you want to access. That is very good idea, right? If this fails, a process can either wait or the lock request wait for the lock or request to become successful. That is the case. Instead of doing the entire file locking, just lock the file that is needed, portion of the file that is needed. Next, the second step, after a lock is acquired successfully, read or write the locked region. After the lock is acquired successfully, then only you have to read or write the locked region. If the lock is not acquired, just you should not do anything. After the lock is acquired successfully only, you should read it or write it on the locked region. That is the second step you have to follow. Next, after every locking, after every task, what you have to do, you have to release the lock. Just remember that you can't stay, you can't have the lock after the task is completed also. No, you should not do that. Once the task is completed, just release that lock. So you have to follow these 3 steps. Then there will be a mutual understanding between each process. Right? Sorry. Next. For example, you can see here, I'm going to explain two processes here, lock promotion and lock splitting, what it actually see here. If a process sets a read lock on a file, is for example, see, process is setting a read lock on a file from address 0 to 256. From the address 0 to 256, its process is setting the read lock. So it can read it, and other process also can read it from 0 to 256. And also then sets a write lock on the file from 0 to 512. See, it is setting the process is setting two locks. One is a read lock from 0 to 256, another one is a write lock from 0 to 512. The process will own only one write lock on the file from 0 to 512. So it is going to own only one write lock. The write lock is from 0 to 512. Read lock is from 0 to 256. Remember here, the previous read lock from 0 to 256 is now covered by the write lock, obviously, right? When the write lock is covered by 0 to 512, that means 0 to 256 also covered by the write lock only. And the process does not own two locks of the region from 0 to 256. You don't need the read lock now. If a write lock is there from 0 to 512, you can read it or write it. Then why you need the read lock from 0 to 256? It is unnecessary. I am getting promoted from read lock to write lock. If I want, I can remove that read lock. I can just use the write lock from 0 to 512, and I can do reading and writing both. That is called as lock promotion. A process does not own two locks simultaneously. It is not possible. So what I'm going to do, instead of having 0 to 256 as a read lock, I'm just going to remove it. 0 to 512, I have a write lock. Anyway, if I have a write lock, I can read also, write also. So that one lock is enough for me, right? So I'm not going to own the lock from 0 to 256. This is called as lock promotion. I promoted from read lock to write lock. Obviously, reading is also possible in write lock. Next, what is lock splitting? Furthermore, if a process now unblocks the file from 128 to 480, what it does, it is unblocking the file from 128 to 480. No lock is there between 128 to 480. It will own two write locks on the file. One from 0 to 127 and other from 481 to 512. This is called lock splitting. Write lock is splitted between 0 to 127 and 481 to 512. Getting, guys? Getting? Understood? It is splitting the write lock. Write lock is between 0 to 512, but it is why process is now unblocking the file from 128 to 480. It is unblocking, but it has to split now. It will own two write blocks on the file, same file, but it now have two write blocks from 0 to 127 and from 481 to 512, because 128 to 480 is free. Now you don't need any lock for 128 to 480. It is free. You need a lock from 0 to 127 and 481 to 512. So your lock is splitted between these two regions. That is called as lock splitting. Getting, guys? Hope you're understanding the concepts. Suppose if you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section, right? Next, Unix system provide fcntl function to support file locking. By using fcntl, if you want to know more about fcntl, the link is in the description, or else you can search the video in the playlist also. It is available in the playlist Unix system programming, right? By using fcntl, it is possible to impose read-write locks on either a region or an entire file. If you want to set a lock, how you are going to do that means using a fcntl function. How you can do that? See here. So fcntl have the two arguments. The third argument also we can use based on the second argument value. You can go through that fcntl API explanation video, right? The first argument here is the file descriptor, because you need a file address to set the lock on that file, right? If you know the address only, you can access that file, otherwise you can't. That's why I need a file descriptor. File descriptor is like an address of the file. The second argument is the command flag specify what operation has to be performed. If FANTL is used for file locking, then it can be values as what are the values that command flag can be contained. If you are using a FCNTL for setting the lock for the portion of the file or the entire file, you can see here the command can use these values. Command argument can use these three values here. What are those? Set LK. What is that? Sets the file lock. Do not block if this cannot succeed immediately. If next is set LKW. Sets the file lock and blocks the process until the lock is acquired. Here it is going to find the first case, it is going to set a file lock, but do not block the process. But in the second case, it's going to set a file lock also. Along with that, it's going to block the process until the lock is acquired. Right? Next, get LK. Acquires as to which process locked a specified region of file. It is going to, its queries. If you want to query which process is locked the region, if you want to know which process is going to do the read or write operations using the locks, if you want to know that, you can use this get LK to check which process hold the lock or not, right? So which process locked a specified region also you can know that using the get LK, right? For file locking purpose, third argument to the FCNTL is an address of the struct flock type variable. I told you the third argument values will depend on the second argument values. So the third argument contains a structure called flock. You can see there. So if you are setting a lock, you should have the type of the lock, right? Which process is acquiring the lock. Those details will also be stored if you are setting a lock, right? Those details are present in the structure, data structure. Structure means you can group different data types in a single place. So that structure, what is the name of the structure? flock. Flock contains all those details. You can see here first data, what type of data you are storing in a structure called flock is type, what lock to be set or to unlock a file. What type of lock, whether it is a read lock, write lock, what type of lock you are setting, those details. Next, hence reference address for the next field, where to start, what is the reference from beginning or end, those reference values. Next, offset from the reference address. So where to start? Start is purely related to hence values. Where you have to start, whether from the beginning value or the ending of the file or whether any other value, right? You can start from any value. Next, length, how many bytes, what are the bytes you have used to lock. Maybe I told you, right, you can lock the specific region or you can lock the entire file. Length, how many bytes in the locked region, you have to tell that. Next, PID of the process which has locked the file, obviously. Which process has acquired the lock, those details should be there, right? If it's there only, it will be helpful for the FCNTL function. That's why all these details will be right there in the data struct called flock, right? These details will be entirely dependent on the set LK, right? Here and get LK and set LKW values, because if you are setting a file lock, you can set a read lock, write lock, then this read lock details or a write lock details, whatever the details it may be, it will be there in the struct flock, right? I already told you the type value field specify the lock type, or right, the possible values which are defined. See here, I told you, right, what type of locks can be set here means, you can see here this all the lock, different types of lock values can be defined in the FCNTL.h header. So what are the different types of locks can be set here? Read lock, write lock. Set a read lock. RDLCK means read lock on a specified region. WRLCK means it's going to set a write lock on a specified region. Remember, here I am talking about the particular region of the file, right? I can specify read lock or a write lock on a particular region of a file, right guys? So unlock, it is going to unlock a specified region. Whatever the region you are going to specify, it is going to unlock that region. So read lock means it is going to set a read lock on a specified region. Write lock means it is going to set a write lock on a specified region. If you want, you can unlock also using UNLCK function. Next, the I_VANS and I_START and I_LINE define a region of a file to be locked or unlocked. The possible values of I_VARIANS and their uses are seek cursor, seek set, seek end. I already explained this, right? So seek cursor means start value added to the current file address. You have to if current address, from current address you have to set the lock. Seek cursor. Seek set means start value is added to byte 0 of the file. That means starting of the file. You have to start the lock from the beginning of the file. Seek end means you have to start values, you have to begin the lock from the ending of the file. Getting guys? Seek end means you have to begin the lock from the position, lock position, where you have to set from the ending of the file. Seek end. Seek set means you have to set the lock from the beginning of the file. Seek cursor means current position. You can set from any position, current position. That is seek cursor. Getting guys? And one more important thing, a lock set by the FCNTL API is an advisory lock. It's an advisory lock. But we can also use FCNTL for mandatory locking purpose with the following attributes set before using FCNTL. Yes, obviously FCNTL is used for advisory locks. As a user, I can set the advisory locks. But mandatory locks are set by the kernel, right? You can use the FCNTL for setting the mandatory lock also. But some things you have to take care in the initial steps only. So what is that? If these following attributes set before using FCNTL, then you can do that. So what is that means? First, turn on the set GID flag of the file. Set GID should be always on. Next, turn off the group execute write permission of the file. You have to turn off the group execute write permission of the file, right? Then you can use FCNTL for mandatory locking purpose also, right guys? So this is the example program. We have performed a read lock on a file called Divya from the 10th byte to 25th byte. So here what you are doing, we set a read lock from which byte to which byte? 10th byte to 25th byte. We set a read lock from the file called on a file called Divya. So you can see here this header file. So the program execution starts from the main function. So remember the header file is fcntl.h. I have to use that, right? You know that, right? So in file descriptor, because I need a file descriptor, here I am using a structure called flock, right? I am opening a file called Divya. So fd is equal to open. I am opening a file called Divya. I am opening a file Divya for read only purpose, because here I am setting a lock for reading purpose for a particular file Divya from which position, from 10th byte to 25th byte. So I need a file descriptor. I opened that particular file. So that address of that particular file will be there in the file descriptor, and I am opening that file Divya for the read only purpose, right? So execution starts from the main, you know that. So what is the lock type you are giving? You know that lock type is a read lock, because you have to read the data from the 10th byte to the 25th byte. You are setting the read lock. So what is the VANS value? It is 0. You are setting it from the VANS value to 0. But see, from where you have to start, from the 10th byte you have to start. That's why starting from 10th byte. From how much? From 10 to 25th byte. So what is the difference? 10 to 25th, 15. So see, length is what? 15. So 10 plus 15, 25. So obviously it will read low. So that's why length is 15. So it will start from 10. So FCNTL, FD, FC, I'm setting the lock. To set the lock, what I'm using, set lock. You can see SETLK. I'm setting the lock between 10 to 25. I'm reading from the file Divya. Right? I am performing a read lock on a file Divya from 10th byte to 25th byte. I am setting a lock. Once the lock is set, you can read it. But here I am concentrating more on how to set a lock from 10th byte to 25th byte on a file Divya. Hope you understood the concept, guys. Suppose if you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video.